Imagine stepping softly onto a quiet cobblestone street in Victorian England, where the morning mist clings gently to the air and faint sounds of life begin to stir. The world is both familiar and foreign, a blend of soot-darkened brick buildings, horse-drawn carts making their slow way, and the distant chiming of church bells marking the early hours. In this old yet ever-bustling landscape, the life of a child unfolds with a rhythm all its own, shaped by the delicate dance between joy and hardship, play and labor, growth and survival. Children in this era often awoke before the sun fully graced the sky, their small hands already busy with tasks that would seem daunting to modern eyes. The streets, the factories, and the homes all echoed with the soft footfalls of young souls beginning their day. Their world was one of contrasts. Pockets of laughter mingled with the steady hum of work, moments of quiet reflection nestled alongside the clatter of industry. Each child's story was threaded through the fabric of a rapidly changing society, where tradition met innovation and innocence met necessity. Within these early hours, the first glimpses of childhood emerge, not as carefree days filled solely with leisure, but as a complex mosaic of responsibility and fleeting freedom. The Victorian child's journey was profoundly shaped by the demands placed upon them, yet within those demands, sparks of resilience and even delight flickered quietly. It's a world where the notion of childhood as a protected, carefree season was still evolving, and where young hands contributed meaningfully to the household and community. As we begin to explore this world, it is gentle curiosity that leads us forward, an invitation to imagine the sights and sounds that colored a child's everyday life. The clinking of tools in factories, the soft whispers of secrets shared during a brief pause from labor, the worn edges of a well-loved marble set, and the scent of freshly baked bread carried on the breeze. These details offer more than mere historical facts. They breathe life into the past, helping us connect across time to the experiences of those who came before. Children's work was often demanding, yet it forged a unique sense of purpose. The early morning hours might find a small figure climbing narrow chimneys, soot-blackened and tireless, while others carefully tended to spinning wheels or packed goods in bustling factories. Each task carried weight, not just in the physical sense, but in the unspoken contributions to family survival and societal progress. There was a quiet dignity in this labor, a testament to the strength and adaptability of young lives shaped by necessity. Yet, amid the toil, the innate imagination of childhood wove moments of lightness and escape. When the day's work paused or ended, laughter would ripple through narrow alleys and crowded homes. Simple games played on uneven pavements, whispered stories passed beneath the glow of a flickering candle, and the shared solace of friendship offered a sanctuary, a vital breath of joy in an often demanding world. These moments remind us that childhood in Victorian England, while shaped by circumstance, was not without its tenderness and delight. The challenges these children faced were profound, touching every aspect of their existence from health to family life. Illness and hardship shadowed many, yet the threads of care and community wound tightly through their lives. Families leaned on each other, neighbors offered quiet support, and small acts of kindness planted seeds of hope in even the darkest corners. This resilience, born of necessity and nurtured by connection, forms an enduring legacy, a reminder of the quiet strength that carried so many through. As we gently turn these pages of history, we begin to understand childhood in Victorian England not as a distant, abstract concept, but as a lived, breathing experience filled with complexity and nuance. The interplay of work, play, and survival reveals a tapestry of human spirit, where even in hardship, the lightness of youth found ways to shine. It invites us to pause, to listen closely to the whispers of the past, and to honor the resilience woven through the lives of these children. In the coming moments, we will delve further into the daily realities and subtle joys that defined the Victorian childhood, tracing the threads of industry, imagination, and endurance that continue to echo softly across the centuries. Through calm reflection and gentle storytelling, we will glimpse a world both distant and intimately human, a world where every child's journey mattered profoundly. Dive into the shadows of Victorian childhood, subscribe, and uncover the stories they didn't want you to know. Picture a quiet morning in a bustling Victorian town, where the gentle clatter of horse-drawn carts blends with the distant hum of factory whistles, signaling the start of a new day. The narrow cobblestone streets, worn smooth beneath countless footsteps, are lined with brick and timber houses, their chimneys releasing soft curls of smoke into the cool air. As sunlight filters through a light haze, the city stirs to life, not just with the rhythm of work, but with the tender presence of children awakening to their own world. In these moments, the sounds of childhood gently thread through the urban tapestry. The faint laughter of youngsters playing in alleyways, the rhythmic tapping of wooden hoops rolling along the street, and the hushed whispers shared behind oven doors all form an understated chorus. It's a world shaped by contrasts. The grit of a city, climbing through the throes of industrial revolution, alongside the simple, enduring rituals of youth. Rituals that, despite hardship, offered a sense of belonging and hope. Beyond the city's edge, in the rolling countryside, the pace softens, yet the steadfast demands on children remain. The gentle rustle of hay, the lowing of cattle, and the soft murmur of village life create a backdrop where childhood unfolds beneath open skies and amidst fields that stretch toward the horizon. Here children rise early, their days framed by the changing seasons, each task a thread woven into the fabric of family survival. In both environments, the heartbeat of childhood is unmistakable. Daily life, though often marked by labor, is punctuated by moments of quiet observation and small pleasures. Children learn to navigate their surroundings with a keen sense of awareness, their eyes reflecting both the challenges they face and the imaginative spirit that carries them through. As the city's factory chimneys begin to puff steadily, young faces emerge from doorways, ready to step into roles that blend necessity with a budding resilience. In these routines, there is a poignant mixture of innocence and responsibility, children balancing the weight of work with the flickers of youthful curiosity. Their days are structured by the sounds of industry, the clanging of machinery, and the measured footsteps that echo through crowded workshops and narrow lanes. Yet amidst these early morning duties, there are whispers of play, fleeting, precious moments where the harshness of the day softens and laughter takes flight. A game of marbles on a doorstep, the secret sharing of stories beneath flickering candlelight, or the simple joy of skipping rope in the fading light, all serve as gentle counterpoints to the demands of survival. This rhythm of work and play forms the delicate dance of childhood, where responsibility and imagination coexist, each feeding into the other. It is a world where the boundaries between obligation and freedom blur softly, revealing the complex layers beneath the surface of Victorian youth. The scents, hoary details of this era, the scent of coal smoke mingling with freshly baked bread, the texture of worn leather shoes on uneven streets, the chill of early morning mist, invite us to step quietly into these children's shoes. Through these vivid impressions, we come to understand not only the external world they inhabited, but the inner landscapes shaped by hope, endurance, and fleeting delight. In this space between labor and leisure, beneath the watchful eyes of a changing society, the Victorian child's journey unfolds. It is a story of adaptation and quiet strength, where each day's beginning quietly prepares the heart for the day's demands, yet still leaves room for the tender sparks of joy that sustain the spirit. As we let these scenes settle softly in our minds, we move gently forward, ready to explore the work that shaped much of these young lives, and the small but vital ways in which play offered a refuge, a secret garden amid the city's relentless pace and the countryside's steady toil. Together, we'll uncover how these early experiences crafted not just survival, but a resilience that would echo long beyond the Victorian era. In the gentle rhythm of Victorian England, childhood was painted with strokes of both labor and laughter, hardship and hope. The world a child stepped into was one shaped by the demands of survival, yet it was also a place where imagination found its quiet corners, and where the bonds of community and family wove threads of care and endurance. Work, play, and survival were not separate spheres but intertwined elements, each lending its own texture to the tapestry of growing up during this era. From the earliest dawn, many children took on responsibilities that might seem daunting by today's standards. the clang of factory machines, the smoky ascent of chimneys, the bustling streets filled with vendors and errand runners, these were the backdrop to daily life for countless young souls. A boy might begin his day as a chimney sweep, clambering up narrow shafts to clear the soot that darkened the homes of wealthier families. It was a job fraught with danger and discomfort, yet it was also a testament to a child's tenacity and the crucial role they played in their household's survival. Others found themselves amid the hum of cotton mills or the relentless pace of coal mines, their small hands deftly handling tools and materials far beyond their years. Each day's work was a lesson in endurance and responsibility, shaping not only skills, but also a quiet resilience that would sustain them through lean times. Yet amid the labor and long hours, there were moments carved out for play, simple, fleeting moments of escape and delight. Victorian children, despite their heavy burdens, cherished these episodes of leisure, which were as vital to their well-being as the daily bread they sought to earn. The streets and alleys became playgrounds where laughter echoed softly through the air. Games like hopscotch, played with chalk-drawn grids on cobblestones, allowed children to dance lightly between the shadows of hard work. Marbles clicked quietly on dusty grounds, each captured sphere a treasure in a world where possessions were few. Even in the cramped quarters of urban life or the fields of the countryside, storytelling blossomed in the twilight hours, a delicate weaving of fairy tales, local legends, and family histories that nurtured imagination and comforted restless minds. Play was more than mere amusement. It was a sanctuary. Within these moments, friendships were forged and maintained, offering support and companionship that softened the weight of their daily struggles. It was in these shared experiences that children found a sense of belonging and the courage to dream beyond the immediate demands of survival. The laughter and quiet conversations during playtime nurtured a rich inner life, a contrast to the often harsh realities waiting just beyond the doorstep. Still, survival was the undercurrent to every experience. The Victorian era was marked by a challenging landscape for children. Health risks, limited medical knowledge, and the constant shadow of poverty shaped their existence. Illness was a frequent visitor, and many families navigated the delicate balance between hope and hardship with unwavering strength. Yet within these struggles, there was also a profound sense of care and community. Neighbors watched over one another's children, sharing resources and offering support where they could. Families, though stretched thin, cultivated bonds of love and protection, understanding that survival was not simply the endurance of hardship, but the nurturing of life against all odds. Amid the weariness of long days and the uncertainty of tomorrow, these acts of kindness and solidarity flickered like gentle lanterns in the dusk. They told stories of endurance not only in the face of adversity, but within the quiet, daily acts of care that held families and neighborhoods together. Each child's journey was a mosaic of these elements: work that demanded strength, play that offered solace, and survival that called forth resilience and hope. In reflecting on these layers of Victorian childhood, one senses the profound complexity of their world, a world where the innocence of youth was both cherished and tested. The experiences of work, play, and survival did more than shape individual lives. They influenced the very fabric of Victorian society, sowing seeds of change and compassion that would resonate through generations. And as we imagine these children moving through the lanes and fields, we are invited to hold a quiet reverence for their spirit, a spirit that, despite the challenges, found moments of joy, connections of warmth, and a will to endure that continues to inspire. In the soft glow of dawn, as mist still lingered over cobblestone streets and the distant chiming of church bells echoed quietly, many Victorian children began their days long before most grown-ups stirred. Work was woven early into the fabric of their lives, a persistent rhythm that marked the passage of childhood in a profoundly different way than we might imagine today. For these children, labor was not a distant notion, but an immediate, pressing reality, one that often demanded resilience and a steady heart. Among the narrow alleys and soot-darkened rooftops of industrial towns, young chimney sweeps hurried through their perilous tasks. Clad in worn garments that barely shielded them from the biting cold, they climbed into the cramped shafts, their small hands steady despite the grime and the shadows. The work was grueling, the dangers many, yet these children carried out their duties with a remarkable sense of purpose. Their days were punctuated by the soot's relentless intrusion, and yet, in the quiet moments between jobs, a flicker of youthful spirit lingered beneath the surface. In larger factories, the hum of machinery formed a constant backdrop, a mechanical pulse to which many children adjusted their own rhythms. They tended to looms, packed parcels, or operated simple machines, often for hours that stretched from early morning well into evening. The factory floors, though noisy and tiring, became familiar landscapes where friendships were forged amidst the clatter. Despite the strict overseers and the unyielding schedules, children found ways to support one another, sharing small comforts, a stolen smile, a whispered secret, or a moment's reprieve during brief pauses in their labors. The work was not confined to the industrial hubs alone. In rural areas, children contributed to family farms, gathering eggs, herding livestock, or helping with the harvest. Their hands learned the textures of earth and grain, their bodies moving in harmony with nature's seasonal cadence. This labor, though still demanding, carried its own quiet dignity, a connection to land and lineage, to the cycles of growth and renewal. Within households, too, children bore responsibilities. Many younger siblings looked after one another while parents toiled, their caregiving a vital thread in the family's survival. They ran errands through bustling markets, delivered messages, or assisted in small trades, their steps weaving them deeper into the web of community life. Each task was a lesson in endurance and adaptability, shaping their young characters with shades of determination and care. Yet, amidst these early demands, we glimpse the softer contours of their experiences. The resilience of Victorian children was not merely in their capacity to work, but in the warmth they could find amid hardship. Stories passed down in whispered gatherings, songs sung quietly after a long day, and the tender watchfulness of a sibling's gaze all hint at lives rich with unseen moments of comfort. Their spirits, though tested, were neither broken nor dimmed. As the day waned and the sun dipped low, casting long shadows through narrow windows, the children's work would slowly come to an end. The soot-smudged faces and calloused hands bore silent testimony to hours spent in unyielding effort, yet also to a profound strength that carried them through. It is here, at this intersection of duty and endurance, that the essence of Victorian childhood begins to emerge, a world where innocence coexisted with responsibility, and where the act of labor was as much a part of growing up as the dreams that quietly stirred beneath the surface. From these early mornings spent in toil, our understanding begins to deepen, gently leading us to consider how, even within such demanding circumstances, Victorian children carved out spaces for joy and imagination. The transition from work to play was not a sharp divide, but a subtle shift, a delicate balance that sustained them through the challenges of their youth. And so, as twilight falls on this chapter of their days, we move softly toward those moments of delight and leisure that nurtured their hearts and minds amidst a world often harsh and unyielding. In the quiet dimness before dawn, the city streets would already be stirring, though the world outside a child's window often appeared still and hushed. It was during these early hours that many Victorian children began their day, stepping gently into roles far removed from the carefree innocence we often associate with youth. Their work was not merely a task, but a defining thread woven deeply into the fabric of daily life. From the narrow alleys where chimney sweeps climbed into towering flues, to the vast, echoing expanse of factories where machines hummed tirelessly, these children carried a weight of responsibility with a quiet fortitude that speaks softly across the years. Imagine a boy no older than 8, clutching a soot-blackened brush, his small frame nimble enough to navigate the cramped, sooty chimneys that adults could not reach. His work, though fraught with danger and hardship, was vital. The very hearths that warmed homes depended on the cleanliness he provided. Each sweep was a delicate dance against the darkness, a trial of endurance framed by the flickering light of a lantern, all carried out in near silence, save for the whisper of soot falling like fine dust upon the floor below. Further beyond, in the vastness of the industrial town, The clatter and clang of machinery formed the background music to a different kind of childhood labor. Here, children as young as 5 or 6 found themselves threading through looming looms or tending to the relentless pace of spinning mules. The factory was a world apart from the open fields or cozy parlors where play might flourish. It was a place of rhythm and routine, where the hours folded into one another under the watchful eyes of overseers. Yet even amidst the relentless demands, these children developed a quiet resilience, their small hands learning skills that would mark their childhood with a strange mixture of pride and perseverance. Not all children toiled within walls or chimneys. Some found work in markets and streets, carrying bundles, delivering messages, or selling matches and newspapers. The city itself was their workshop, and the daily hustle was a lesson in survival and resourcefulness. These tasks, though seemingly small, held significance not only for the child but for the family relying on each coin earned, a delicate balance between duty and the tender years that still cradled their growth. Throughout this tapestry of labor, there was a rhythm to their days, a sequence of awakening, working, and, when possible, brief respite. These moments of pause, perhaps during a shared meal or a fleeting breath of fresh air amidst the clamor, offered a hint of tenderness amid the demands. The children's spirits, while tested, were not broken. Instead, their work became a quiet testament to a resilience rooted deeply in the necessity of the times. As the day waned and shadows lengthened, the world of toil gradually made way for lighter moments, a gentle shift that allowed us to see not only the hardships but also the sparks of joy that flickered in the small acts of play and leisure. It is within these precious interludes that children reclaimed a part of themselves, a space where imagination blossomed against the backdrop of their demanding lives.